You mentioned about getting corporate bank accounts. So how do those bank accounts differ from your typical Wise, Revolut? What are you getting into when you go with Chase or JP Morgan? Why are they better?
Yeah, so there are always levels in this game. So when you're just getting started, it's perfectly fine, I like Veo here in UAE. I like Wise. I like Revolut. I like Mercury, Relay. But all these are fintech banks. These are not real banks. So these are neobanks, which means they are basically just a platform under a real bank. And this real bank is under the central bank. So you're always under the mercy of some entity above you. That's why everybody just gets emotional once Stripe is blocked, Shopify is blocked, Wise is blocked, Revolut is blocked. And they say, these idiots, they just blocked me for nothing. It's not fair. But it's not even their choice, because they are under the mercy of the real bank and they have certain guidelines. Most people don't know their guidelines. And even if it's some small mistake, they have no other choice than restricting you and asking for KYC and evidence and so on, because the real bank above gives them this, and they need to do it basically. And that's why you need real banks when you make $500,000 or more per month, because most people, they really think $20,000 is a lot when they just use Wise or Revolut. But what do you think what people are doing which make 100 million per month? They are not using Wise. So you need a real bank, or you need to know the owner of Wise. Then it's also working, So we also know the owner of all these companies. But most important, to have a proper bank. And a proper bank is a real bank. They are not under the mercy of another bank, which means, yes, you can send $500,000 in wires, And once you make this money, you have no other option. And your money is safe in this case. A lot of these people have 20 bank accounts. They think they need a backup of a backup of a backup of a backup. You don't need this. When you have Chase, JP Morgan, I have 20 businesses on JP Morgan and millions there, and I'm not worried. If I have 100K on Wise, of course I'm worried. I like Wise for some small transactions, but that's it. And this is exactly the same with payment processing. If you look at Stripe, for example, it's just a payment aggregator under a real payment processor, under a real bank. So it's not the end solution. And if you can go higher in this ladder, the better it is for you and the safer it is. And then once you have the setup, you will just never need to worry again anymore, because now I'm with Chase, I have my private banker. Problem solved.
You mentioned 500,000 per month. Is that, in your opinion, the threshold to then approaching these corporate banks and getting an account? Is that the bar to get into these accounts, or how does it work?
So if you look around the world, let's say you want to have priority banking with Chase, you need to put $100,000 to $150,000 on this account. You want to have priority banking in the UAE, 500,000 dirham, which is $150,000. You want to have priority banking in Singapore with UOB DBS. They expect $200,000 to $300,000 bank balance. So this is like the key measurement. And usually people who make less than 500K revenue don't have this money sitting around there. And also for payment processing, to get real proper payment processing, this is the guideline. Yes, you can start with 200K, but usually 500K is where I say, okay, until this point, Revolut, Relay, Mercury work perfectly. If you make more than this, it becomes dangerous.
So when you say private payment processing, is that working with someone like JP Morgan? Is that what you mean? You're going direct to the corporate bank, or is private processing slightly different?
Yeah, so private processing is our company, our brand, basically the private banking of the payment processing world. And what we mean is you have your own private processor, which means you have like a private banker for your payment processing, and we just fix everything for you. And it can be directly with Chase, but it's not a must. It can be even directly with Airwallex, but we know Airwallex directly and you are not in some online chat basically. Or it can be we have all options out there. But most important, imagine you have online banks. So now you have an issue. What can you do? You can only contact an online chat and that's it. Yeah. And you need to wait. Or if you have too much issues, the online chat is not working anymore and you get some email. That's it. If you have private banking, you just call your banker and say, hey, can you send this money for me? And this is the same what we do with private processing. So now you don't have to be in an online chat anymore. You have your private processor. You are in contact with him and you don't need to worry.
So those that maybe aren't at that threshold yet, but are still experiencing problems like maybe payment processing holds, or which I know sometimes PayPal can be notorious for, or even Stripe sometimes. What advice would you give people then? Because you said there's maybe some guidelines most people don't know. So if they're not ready yet for payment processing or private payment processing, what can they do?
So in step one, they can just book a call with us at Wealth Consulting and we just take a look at this situation, to be honest. It's like the most straightforward solution. But what we do many times is we just train people basically with our team and tell them just how to do everything right. This can be simple things like, for example, some people just set up let's say they set up a UK company and sell to US 100%. This is also high risk. Why? Because if you have a company in payment processing in the UK, but you are 100% selling to the US cross-border, it's strange for the bank. It's strange. Why is he not just setting up something in the US, for example? Or people are just sending wires with a wrong description, for example, or they have a different address and phone number on their website compared to what they were giving to the bank or to Stripe, for example. These are all red flags, or they scale too fast and Stripe or Shopify payments just didn't know about this. When you scale fast, it's also high risk, So you can do simple things like giving them a business plan, for example, to explain them what you do. You need to have the company structure right first. So it needs to be like a clear plan for everything. You can't just wandering around and thinking, let's say most entrepreneurs are in this survival mode. Just, what can I do today to make more money faster? I need money now. I have invoices to pay, and that's good. But this can't be a real entrepreneur. A real entrepreneur needs to have a long-term vision, a long-term plan. And that's why you need to plan always ahead, because once you already have banking issues, payment processing issues, tax issues, it's always too late, because to get out of this, it's really difficult.
So when is the right time then? Because you mentioned 500K per month for payment processing. Is that still the threshold for everything else? Or do you think, no, you should be thinking about your company structure, where you're banking way earlier than that?
I think you need to plan these things already when you get started with a business. Like I said, too many young people, and this is not bad, right? Are in this survival mode. Just something needs to work, and what's the next step? What's the issue that I need to fix today? And that's good, but you need to have a business plan. And that's something that you normally learn in business on day one. You need to have a business plan. But if you ask people, do you have a business plan? Most of them don't have a plan. And most important, to plan this ahead in the beginning. And once you face an issue, you anyways need to act immediately. But that's what I always say. Company setup, taxes, banking, payment processing is at least 50% of your business. There were people coming to me and saying, hey, I have this and this issues. Just give me now a company and a bank account with processing and I give you 50% of my revenue. That's how important it can be, especially once you have issues. So just plan it as soon as possible. But probably when you already have these issues or you're paranoid about this, you already know it's time to act. Even if you don't have issues, everybody who makes a lot of money is usually just paranoid and thinks, this money will be on hold. What is with this money? What is when this is happening? And that's why you need to build a good structure just as soon as possible.
For sure. I think you're right. I think a lot of people, when they start a business, especially Ecom, typically it's a low barrier to entry. So people are doing a lot of things for the first time, even maybe running the ads or even incorporating their initial business or paying their first VAT bill or sales tax. A lot of it is new. So I think sometimes people overlook that at the start. And I guess maybe rightly so, focus on earning some money first, but then as soon as you've got some momentum, consider thinking about, at the end of this year, when your corporation tax is due, how much have you actually got to pay, or how much do you actually owe in VAT if you reach the threshold, and all of these things. And I'm sure as soon as they make that first payment and see all of that money going to someone else, then they're going to start thinking, okay, now I want to go maybe to Dubai or somewhere else and keep this money for myself or reinvest it back into the business.
Yeah, most people, they just copy some e-commerce business, some dropshipping business. It's not even a business. Yes, I see all these coaches there online with their, I make like so much revenue. Yes, guys, I can today spend $20 million for some new business in ads and make $20 million, But how much profit do I have from this? You need to create a proper plan, a proper long-term plan for a proper business. And to just ship something, make some ads, that already 20 other people are doing, it's not a real business. And that's why you need a proper business plan to make millions in profit, because everything else is just not a business. It's you're self-employed, some online hustler, and that's okay if that's your goal. But if you want to build a real business, it's a different mindset. And most of these guys don't have a real business.
So we've talked about business setup, we've spoken about different locations, we've touched on VAT and sales tax, payment processing, when is the right time to obviously think about all these things. There's another thing that came to mind when you were talking about, corporate business setups and banking. At the moment, obviously, we're still doing everything via pounds, dollars, but I hear a lot of talks of central bank digital currencies. And maybe this is hopefully not off topic, because I still think it's relevant, but what impact do you think that might have, or do you think it's going to have any impact on, how money is then being transferred, how money is then being tracked, and people's spending habits, and just monitoring in general from the top?
So I think most people are too concerned with these changes, because you need to think, what can I do for my business in this year or in the next year, and how is the world currently working? Everything else is speculations, right? Like so many people asking me about BRICS, the changes of BRICS. But how about, why should US be good if BRICS is already developing? And I say, yes, I'm not stupid. I'm seeing this news every day about BRICS, and I hope BRICS will be great. But then go to Russia and set up a company and do business there, It's difficult. The same in China, the same in India. So right now we need to take a look at which system do we currently have which actually works. And right now everything is still more easy in the Western world when it comes to business, honestly. And right now in e-commerce, people are paying in dollar or euro with credit cards. And this should be the only concern right now, how to scale this business. Yes, once you make 10 million in profit, you have so much money, then you can worry about every change from currencies to world order, to BRICS, to crypto, to AI. But if that's not the case, then just don't worry about this. And I see so many intelligent people around me who are broke. And I see so many stupid people here in Dubai who are rich. Why? Because they don't overthink, Honestly, like most people here who are rich, they are not intelligent. That's a fact, but they are focused. They are really focused and hardworking, especially here. And so this is the only thing that people need to do, is to be laser beam focused on one thing and to scale it.